Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Great Black Speakers Podcast, where we connect through conversation. I am your host, Lawrence Watkins. I am the founder and CEO of Great Black Speakers Bureau. I'm also the president and chief operating officer of the Black Business School. And today we have three returning guests. We have Mr. Omari Head, Ms. Davon Reeves, and Mr. Damian Proctor with us today. And these are our new hotel ownership and acquisitions instructors for the Black Business School, and we wanted just to bring them on to talk about briefly how one goes about preparing for hotel ownership during COVID-19, and just talk about the state of the economy and the market and what they have planned moving forward and what's their strategy to get through this difficult time. So how are you all doing today, Omari, Davon, and Damien?
Great.
I'm doing
Oh,
fabulous.
well. How are you,
Wonderful.
Lauren?
I'm doing
All right.
excellent. Just still down here in Medellin, preparing for my move back to the States next year,
Oh, okay.
and trying to stay
Okay.
self quarantined with the family. So for those in the audience who don't know much about each one of you, can you each do maybe like a 30-second introduction about what you currently do and how you've gotten there? So I guess I'll start on my side of my screen with Omari and just work my way around. So Omari, can you start?
Hey, greetings, everybody. Omari Head. I'm a director with Paramount Lodging Advisors. So we're a Chicago-based hotel brokerage firm. Hotels is the only asset class that we do. No apartments, anything else. Transacted over 140 assets cross country. I also teach adjunct for a few different universities at the undergraduate and graduate level.
Okay, go ahead, Davon.
Hi, hello everyone. My name is Davon Reeves. I am the president and founder of the Vaughn Group. I am a hotel consultant where I specialize in assembling teams and helping people become first-time hotel owners.
Okay, and Damon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Damian Proctor. I'm a hotel investor. And so I'm one of those unicorns in the industry, maybe not so much where by day I'm an executive in the defense industry. And then in my spare time, I work with folks like Davon and Amari to identify deals and invest in hotels and bring others along in the process.
All right, this is a subject that we've talked about numerous times on this channel, mainly with you, Omari and Davon. Talk about what's happening right now in the hotel industry. A lot of people would be afraid to start owning a hotel right now during COVID, but talk about, I guess, the opportunities and challenges that you all see in the current space.
I'll take a stab at that real quick. I would say that right now that it's a fascinating time because we found a new bottom. Which is always a good time for a first-time investor. April is officially on record as the worst month for hotel performance. If you look at, other, catastrophic events, specifically like 9/11, that actually involved the hospitality and tourism industry because it involved airplanes. This is estimated to be 11 times worse than that. So what that means is that we found a new bottom in terms of lows of performance. So the opportunity is that while there are folks that become distressed, there could be a potentially massive transfer in wealth that comes up if you're educated and know how to identify a good deal. And folks like Davon can tell you a little bit more about what she's seeing from her lens.
Yeah, thanks, Amari. I just want to echo that as far as what he just mentioned about April being the worst on record for reporting low occupancy levels, low ADR levels, definitely, and low RevPAR levels, but we'll get into that during our course next week. But as far as with the hotel industry, the hotel industry is actually one of the worst industries, actually suffered the most. Over 7 million jobs have been lost and still are counting because there are a lot of hotels that are closing. There are a lot of jobs that are being in positions being eliminated or being furloughed. And so it's definitely a sad time for the hotel industry. It will bounce back. And when it bounces back, it will be stronger than ever. This is also a good time for potential investors or potential hotel owners because a lot of hotels are going to be coming up for sale, which is good. And so this is actually a great time if you have some some extra cash, or you have some extra capital, or you want to diversify your investment portfolio, this is the perfect time for you to become a hotel investor or hotel owner. And we have some courses coming along the way in the Black Business School. So that way you can learn a little bit more about becoming a hotel owner. A lot of people don't realize that you can become a hotel owner. So we're going to demystify that. A lot of people think that the brands like Marriott, Hyatt, and Hilton, they actually own the hotels, when actually small business owners like yourself own them.
And I would echo the sentiments of both Mari and Devon, but I would add to this that while this is an opportune time for investors who are prepared to get into the market or to expand their portfolio, one thing that's you have to be careful about and also be prepared for is financing. And that depending on the situation, banks are having much more strict and stringent requirements. And so you as an investor have to have more qualifications. You have to have a team that may be more qualified, right? So because this is higher risk for that segment. And so the banks and the financing companies definitely are tightening their belts. But with that said, if you can put together a team of yourself or qualified, this is a great time to get in. But you have to know what you're doing too, because this is not going to recover that fast. So you have to know how to play this in the current market with an outlook for how things are going to recover.
Yeah, man, that was going to be my next question is, how do you recover from the worst ever, right? So you're talking about a drop in industry from 11 times, what it was during 9/11, I guess almost 20 years ago. Like, how does an industry recover from that, or is it going to actually recover? Because you hear a lot of people in business talking about, they're not really doing business travel anymore, right? And, they're going to start doing everything over Zoom. I know commercial real estate is, people are talking about moving away from that and having more people work from home. So from a real estate perspective, like what's the recovery going to look like, do you all think, in the hotel space?
Well, I think, you want to go ahead, Amar?
I defer to you, Devon.
Okay. I mean, I think it's going to come back. It's not going to come back tomorrow, but the industry is definitely going to come back. There's been a lot of forecasting that the lodging industry will come back probably in about 2 to 3 years. And I believe it'll come back stronger than ever. I do believe that there will be a shift as far as travel. I think the sales funnel will change as far as how hotels will attract guests. I believe as far as the travel, people are probably looking to stay more in extended stay hotels or limited service hotels. I think there'll be more of independent hotels popping up during this wave, meaning people want to create their own brands, or people want to work more with soft brands, and they want to, and since we've been in lockdown for so long, people want to get out and travel. So that's why I definitely believe that the lodging industry is going to come back, but people are going to look for more experiences. So they're going to stay at hotels where they'll be able to have that unique experience to get them out of the house and to get them to see a new area.
Agreed, 100%. And right now it's pent up demand. So right now the estimates are saying that it recovers, kind of holistically around 2023, depending on some people's estimates. Right now, what does that mean? What's happening before then is that it depends what type of hotel we're talking about. The fundamentals are still extremely strong in economy properties. Economy properties, and specifically economy extended stay, are doing 50 to 60% occupancy levels, which may not sound great, but right now a lot of people in the industry are doing in the 20s and 30s. So a lot of those sexier assets, the big, convention assets, CBD, central business districts, nobody wants to be downtown right now, right? People are thinking differently about travel. That 2-story exterior corridor where your room opened up to the outside wasn't attractive, but now you don't want to walk through a lobby unnecessarily. So you might see people anticipating those things. The other thing I think is that the more that you learn about this business, we just heard Jay-Z talk about it in the Entrepreneur song, if you can't buy the building, at least stock the store, at least stock the shelves, right? You have an opportunity to still become a vendor. There's going to be different products that are going to be needed, different cleaning products and agents that are going to be needed. There's going to be different technologies that are going to need to be created. Wireless locks are still not in mass distribution across hotels. Like, that's crazy, right? So think about, there's going to have to be a bunch of people looking at wireless locks right now that weren't looking at that, because folks, I'm sure, don't want to even talk to the front desk. They just want to do it all through their phone. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity for that rebound coming up, and it's still just sticking with some good fundamentals.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is going to depend on what's happening with business travel. And so, because right now businesses have realized that they can do most business virtually, and they're saving a lot of money, right? And so when you start to look at that from an overall business perspective, will business travel bounce back the same way it will? I think their guesses are not, because there's savings in being able to operate virtually. So that could definitely have a great impact on the lodging sector in general. And so that's where you find what Davon and Amari are talking about, which is, extended stay economy, and those lifestyle brands may become more to the center or come to the fore, because business travel may lag the other types of travel segments.
Great point.
Well, let's talk about a little bit in terms of the purchasing of these hotels. So you all made it clear to me that this is all about hotel acquisition and ownership, and definitely not hotel development for newbies and people just getting into the space, right? So let's talk about that in terms of prices right now, in terms of what you're seeing. Have the prices stabilized yet? Are they going down? Are they going up? What are you seeing in the market in terms of prices and the opportunity for people, I guess, in our community to actually get involved?
Yeah, so real quick overview from the brokerage perspective is that, so there was a great report done by a consulting company that estimated the values were going to decrease anywhere from 20 to 35%, depending on where you're at. Now, there are some markets where we haven't seen the significant decline, right? Just because of what they have going on in the market. The fundamentals are so strong. Maybe it's next door to a hospital or a military base or something like that, where that's just demand did not slow down. But in terms of pricing, we haven't seen pricing catch up just yet with being adjusted down just yet with regards to what's going on in the market. And the reason for that is that there's a lot of Band-Aids on bullet wounds. You got PPP, you got EIDL, and you have forbearance in place. So right now, those three things have given people lifelines. And so we may not actually know how distressed a lot of people are, and we haven't seen all those deals come to market yet, but they're going to come to market in some interesting formats. So, and I'm sure Damien, has seen that as well, looking at, some properties for sale, and Davon as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo that sentiment in that there are owners right now who are already underwater, and so they're starting to feel that. And so, of course, what happens is, the bank takes over, and then you have an opportunity, and it may show up on Amari's auction for his brokerage. But to that point, we don't know when things would show up fully because of the incentives and the extra padding and help coming from the federal government and the Federal Reserve. But with that, we can expect that people, especially first-time investors, can find opportunities in this market with depressed values, right? And so, but you have to have some experience on your team. You have to have a good advisor. You have to know what you're looking at, what you're looking for, what is a good deal. And not just a good deal just because it looks like a good deal, but a good deal in the sense that you know how to make the play for that to actually make profit. So that's where the experience and having great advisors come into play.
Right now, a lot of the lenders aren't, they're not working as well with some of the hotels. So they're, hotel owners there, even though they are getting that additional help, they only have so much of cash reserves, and it's only so much help that you can get. So they are making that tough decision, depending on the markets, depending on the type of the property, of just giving the hotels back to the bank. And so we haven't seen it quite just yet, but I definitely do see that it's coming. I definitely see there's some opportunistic people who have been waiting for this time to just gobble up a lot of hotels. And that's why we, mentioned before, if this is the time to invest, this is probably the best time to invest in hotels, because of the time that it may be some hotels at, discounted prices or lower prices, because they're just at a disadvantage right now because what's going on in the economy, and they're unable to sustain their hotel.
All right, everyone. Here with Omari Head, Davon Reeves, and Damian Proctor. These are our new instructors for, I guess, the hotel channel. I don't know what to call it now. I've never even thought about the hotel topic in the Black Business School. So they're going to be talking all about hotel ownership and acquisition. They have a new masterclass coming out. I believe the first night is going to be September 3rd. So in about, what's that, 9 days from now. We'll start promoting it this weekend. So be on the lookout for a weekend sale for their particular course coming up. If you all like what these three individuals are talking about today, please go ahead and press the thumbs up button. Please also share and subscribe to the Black Financial Channel if you would like to receive more financial content like the content we're producing today here with Omari, who is a hotel broker, Davon, who's a hotel consultant, and then Damian, who is a hotel investor. All right. Let's talk about this. Actually, is a little bit more for Damien, since he is, like, are you Dame? Are you the most active investor of the group? Is that fair to say, from an investor standpoint?
Yeah, I'm not even sure, but possibly.
Oh, possibly. Okay, yeah. So possibly, but I know
Yeah.
that you don't do this full time, right? So
Right.
this is something that is an additional stream of income for you. So I want you to talk about, that for the audience, because a lot of people in the audience still have their full-time jobs, and many people may not think that they can actually do this on the side. You hear about flipping houses or, purchasing, I guess residential property, but not many people actually talk about the purchasing of hotels. So talk about your experience about doing this while still having a, very good full-time job at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is actually a great thing for anyone who wants to get into the business. I mean, unless you're already in the industry, then you are doing something else. And so if you're not doing real estate, you're doing something else that's outside of the space in general. And so that means this is an extra thing that you're going to get into, that's your spare time. And so the way to do it is, one, you have to educate yourself, which is what I did. Actually partnered up with Omari, and I educated myself. I spent a couple of years doing the research, going to the various hotel conferences like the National Association of Black Hotel Owners, Operators and Developers, or the Asian American Hotel Owners Association, or AHOA, and various other industry-related conferences. So I spent time understanding the industry, understanding exactly what this was all about. And then once doing that, I partnered up with folks, right? And so folks who are in the industry, and that's really how it helped me to get in, because I had to team up with someone who knew what they were doing, had some level of expertise, and could help guide me into the process. So upon doing that, I was able to, I guess, put my toe in, or if you will, into a deal. And that first big toe in helped me to understand exactly how this works. So I was able to understand and learn, what the whole process is about. So I was involved from the got a glimpse of the financing components, got a glimpse of the management companies, right? So I got to see the management reports. We asked questions, understand how they operate. So I was able to learn, the whole process, right, and understand how money was made, how money is lost, right? Difference between full service and limited service from a real net income perspective. And got to understand why is it most people stay away from full service. So that was a valuable experience for me. And then from there, because I had a good foundation of knowledge from real experience, because I actually was getting a check every quarter due to an investment, and spent time digging into the reports, asking lots of questions, continuing to go to the conferences and talking to other industry experts and other investors and owners. And I got to a place where I was comfortable and was able to expand my network, and then able to enter into other deals with other sponsors as well, and other investors, and also bring others to the table. So can you do it part-time? Absolutely. But you can't just jump out there. You definitely have to do your homework, spend time learning, and partnering up with others in the industry to help hold your hand and help you to learn what you need to know.
Let's talk about the ecosystem a little bit, in terms of so let's talk about the ecosystem in terms of how someone can get involved with, I guess, this industry. So, off the cuff, you all mentioned about needing of locks and suppliers and that type of stuff from a services standpoint for the hotels. But then there's also, I guess, the ownership, and then you have operators in the space too. Can you all, or Omari or Devon, can you speak to that a little bit more in terms of what that ecosystem looks like for people in our community to really get involved with?
They can definitely get involved. There's a lot of different ways. One thing about the lodging and hospitality industry, we touch just about every type of other industry, meaning accounting, meaning technology, meaning human resources, meaning sales and marketing. There's so many different places as far as in the lodging industry that they can get involved. The lodging industry, I hate to say this, sometimes we kind of behind the curve when it comes to the trends. So for my marketing gurus and my folks who are in technology, if you feel that there's a need, there's a lot of things that pop up in the industry as far as a vendor or supplier, and they're outside of the industry. A lot of the disruptors that come in our industry, people who are outside of it because they see that there's a need and they want to do something about it. So there's a lot of opportunities, especially with COVID, with different initiatives as far as cleaning, different ways to make stuff that's more hands-free. So there's a lot of opportunities as far as for suppliers and people in our community. Like I mentioned before, there's going to be a new sales funnel that needs to be put in place as far as how the lodging industry is going to attract guests. We don't need to be using the same way as far as how we attract guests into our hotel because the world has changed now. So it's not the same way. And so I'm starting to see a lot of new funnels or new types of sales funnels that aren't implemented in the hospitality industry. And that's a segue for folks who are, branding gurus, marketing gurus to get into our industry and kind of help, change our, or implement new sales funnels to attract guests.
Yeah, and I was going to ask about that whole innovations piece because some of the stuff you were talking about, like what Omari stated, is there's not even wireless locks on these hotels yet, on many hotels, that type of thing. So I'm curious to know what's your outlook about hotels versus the things like Airbnbs. Someone in the chat, so Lucy Tootsie, she asked a question. I'm interested in bread and breakfast. Where do you see the future of this market versus hotel and the effects of COVID? So I want to know about, I guess, hotel differentiation in terms of what's going to make hotels different and make hotels thrive, since historically they have a lot of times been behind the eight ball as it relates to like innovation. So where do you see all that playing out with Airbnbs? You got actual bed and breakfasts. You got like so many different types of things or types of lodging in the space. What makes hotels unique in a positive way, moving forward?
I'll take a quick stab at that. With I think what's going to continue to set hotels apart is that Airbnb was a great concept, and the lodging industry was not ready for it. I think the founder earlier this year basically talked about how that they have had an issue with not having standardization. So that lack of standardization is attractive, right? Because you can get the 4-bedroom apartment, you can get the glorious house, which is cool. But the other piece that we just touched on from a supply chain and supplier diversity thing is, cleanliness, and being able to involve in that area. So right now, all the brands in the last 90, 120 days have released these huge press releases on, they're doing all of these partnerships with Purell or, Lysol or whatever, and they're pushing cleanliness. Now, if you're staying at somebody's privately owned residence, you may not have that same level of comfort. There's also, small things like life safety. You could be renting out an apartment that doesn't have a smoke detector. Like Airbnb, they're just not set up for standardization. What I think in the short-term rental market that you'll continue to see rise up is going to be the Apartels, the Domios, the Saunders, where it's that master lease concept. You got the big company. That's going to continue to be, something to wrestle with for the lodging industry. Now, the bed and breakfast sector, I think that's going to be, it's going to continue to grow in popularity just because it's a smaller format, right? I may not want to stay in the Hampton Inn, even if it's only 83 rooms, right? You're talking about, I got to get in the elevator, I got to touch buttons. you know, I may still be a clean freak and I might just want to stay in that house where I can walk in and you know, it's only me and 4 other guests. That may be more attractive. So, but I think it'll all change. Now that's kind of a short-term site, because once vaccine gets announced and people kind of get more relaxed and more comfortable, then, you know, that's kind of out the door. But I say all that to say that the consistency that hotels provide, but more importantly, the thing that Davon, that Damian and I are all passionate about is the opportunity to create jobs. So you can own Airbnbs, you can own all these other things, and that's great for your personal economy, but 1 in 25 jobs is created in the lodging industry, pre-COVID data. But you start talking about having that ability to employ people, and somebody like Damian who owns a hotel, you start talking about, you know, you got a GM, an AGM, a director of sales, somebody in marketing, HR. These are all people that you can have influence and say, you know what, are we recruiting from a HBCU? And you can have conversations about that talent pipeline that you don't get when you own a B&B, because that's more of an owner operator model. So you have less influence, you have less political capital. You know, you see other communities when they own those type of assets and they have all these payroll taxes and big real estate tax bills, their conversations go a lot differently.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the key differences between hotels and bed and breakfast or Airbnb is those things that Amar said, but also the fact that you have more flexibility and your break even, right? So bed and breakfast, if you have 3 or 4 bedrooms, in order for you to make money, you got to have all 3 or 4 bedrooms booked all the time so that you can make your money. Where with a hotel, you know, if you're over, 60 rooms, now your break even on a daily basis can be much lower if you bought it correctly, right? And so you're talking about, maybe 30-40% occupancy helps float all your bills, and not 75-80% to make money, right? And so so you get to that point where you say, okay, where's my break even? Is it 40%? Is it 50% occupancy daily in order to make money? And so that's where it makes sense. If you just love to be, if you just want to have an Airbnb, if you just want to have a bed and breakfast, God bless you, go ahead and do that. That's your passion. But if it's all about the opportunity to expand, provide jobs, also have more flexibility in making money, your hotel is a better bet in my opinion.
All right, everyone. So I'm here once again with Omari Head, who is a hotel broker, Davon Reeves, who is a hotel consultant, and Damian Proctor, who is a hotel investor. And these are our new instructors for a new topic that we're exploring in the Black Business School. We've done a master lecture with these 3 a few months ago. So we decided to do a 6-week master class that's coming up on September 3rd of this year at 8 p.m. We'll start the promotion for that this upcoming weekend, but the class will start actually next Thursday at 8 p.m. So be on the lookout for emails for that. And then, of course, when the landing page is done and we start doing the promotion this weekend, I'll go ahead and put it in the description of this video as well. So please press the thumbs up button. Also share and subscribe to the Black Financial Channel if you would like to receive more financial content like the content that we're producing today here with Omari, Davon, and Damian. All right, so let's get into, I guess, the very last segment. So the ultimate question, I guess, is how does one get all of their ducks in a row to start taking advantage now? Because, the banks are tightening up, tighten up credit, that type of thing. There's just so many steps necessary to actually get into the hotel ownership game. What do people need to start doing now to start taking advantage of the opportunities that you're talking about?
Definitely to start to get into education. Lawrence, you spoke about it just now. We taught a course earlier this year, and from that course, I actually had a couple people who reached out to me outside of the course, and they're on track to purchasing a hotel. So I definitely suggest that you get into education to really educate, to really understanding the process and how it works. Damian, he got his start being a limited partner. That's another option, meaning you more of a passive investor or more or a limited partner, meaning that you don't have any, voting rights or anything, but you're just more of, you're understanding, you're investing, you're having someone else pretty much do the work for you, but you're still understanding how the process goes. So this is the time to really just start educating and start getting your capital together. Hotels are definitely a capital intensive real estate asset class. It's definitely a little bit more expensive than residential. So for those who are in residential investing or who are looking to transition into commercial real estate or transition into hotel investing, taking our courses for is really understanding the fundamentals of hotels and how it works and how the process works. And also, building your team, getting your capital ready. This is the time to do it now.
Yeah, I also say you might want to figure out where you want to play in this. Do you want to be a limited partner? Do you want to be more of a general partner? And that breaks down along the lines of, one, the amount of equity you put in, or your position in the deal, right? So if you want to be the guy that's out front, you'll be the general partner. But as Devon said, if you want to be, you want to put your toe in, right, and you kind of understand this from a safer position, you want to go limited partner. But then that also means that you have to decide how much money, your capital, you have to have available, right? So limited partner, you can get in almost all kind of ranges of equity and capital, and so that's a safer bet, right? But other than that, if you want to step out there and lead the effort, you definitely have to get prepared. Credit, right? Cash, your assets, your partnership, your team. Everything has to be lined up well, so that a bank can feel safe that they're going to lend to that project and to you and your team, and the brand will feel comfortable with also giving you a franchise license.
Yeah, I would definitely say educate yourself, to keep doing things like this course, and to really get yourself together. Relationship build, don't just network, don't just add people on LinkedIn that are in the space, like truly have those conversations, build the rapport, get engaged. And then the final thing is decide what you want out of ownership. So everybody knows I beat the drum on your ownership thesis, right? Why do you want to do this? If it's to make money, then, be ready when Devon, shows you the valuation on an economy property that's 1-story exterior corridor, and Damien's like, look, we're putting money into this, and it has significant cash on cash, but you're going to tell us that it's not attractive. I wanted something more boutique and lifestyle. Well, I mean, we got to figure out what your thesis is. If your thesis is to make money and to really have a legacy plan, then let's focus on what makes money. So be open-minded. And that's what we are going to strive to help to give folks the tool to really be able to identify opportunities, to be able to pursue the opportunities and execute successfully.
Wonderful. All right. And actually, I'm going to ask one last question just related in general to this subject. Marcy Unlimited wanted to know about, how the hotel industry is affected by the airline industry. So she mentioned that American Airlines just recently cut 17,500 jobs, and spaces around the airport where a lot of the hotels are, I'm sure are heavily affected too. So what are your thoughts around that? I guess the interconnection of those two industries, and what would you say to, I guess, Marcy, who's asking that question?
Marcy, I would say that's great. You're doing a great job already educating yourself on information. I'm sure Damien can touch on this a little bit with his experience on airport hotels. But I'll say this, I think it depends on the market, right? So you take something like, I want to say New Orleans, for example, great leisure market. So that means that group business, the business travel is less reliant there. I think only something like 18% of the people who stay in hotels arrive by airplane, right? So that's something to keep in mind. That's the type of research that we want to show people how to do. And when you talk to somebody like Devon, who's an asset manager and a consultant, that helps you read through those things where that may not be that big of an issue in certain markets. Now, if you're in Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and the only place to get there is by plane, that might be a challenge. But some of these properties, they're doing very well because the drive-in traffic. So a market like New Orleans that I just mentioned, where, you know, predominantly people are coming from, you know, Texas, Mississippi, and I think something like 45% are coming from in-state. I could have my percentages off, but majority of people coming from, you know, like a 400-mile radius. So they're driving in. So it definitely impacts the industry, but, and Damien can touch on the different types of properties.
Yeah, absolutely. To that point, you have cities where the lodging sector is driven by conferences, for example. Well, no one's having conferences, right? So what happens to those properties when the pandemic shuts down their primary source of business, right? So and so you have to look at that. That's where someone like Davon dissect what's happening in the market and at that point in time and figure out where your best buys are, right? So that's definitely important.
Yeah, I just want to echo to both of them. Yeah, good job doing great research. As far, and that's actually a part of your ownership thesis, as Omari likes to always say. The first thing you want to do when you're looking for your hotel is you want to look for the market that you want to go into. So that's something to keep in mind as far as now you see what an impact catastrophe could be, you know, to the economy. So now when you're moving forward and your future thinking, now you're saying, okay, you know what, I remember what happened to these hotels during COVID. It's going to, hopefully nothing like this will happen like again so bad, but something is going to happen where it's going to become another recession. So it's something to think about, you know. So you don't want to go into a market where it's so heavily reliant on just one strong demand generator, which is an airport hotel. That they're solely reliant on the airport, not solely, but they're largely reliant on the airport. It's not a lot of drive-in travel. Just like Omari just mentioned, you know, a market, more of a leisure market, you know, like New Orleans or Miami, you know, where a lot of people can kind of drive in, so they're not, you know, heavily impacted. And as Damien just mentioned, as far as with, you know, conference center hotels or big box hotels, I mean, you talking about hotels at 1,600 rooms and they're at 10% occupancy. You know, and because they demand so much on on group travel, so that's what they rely on. So that's something to think about, you know, as far as with your ownership thesis and when you're determining market, as far as which type of travel. And as Omari mentioned, are you looking to make money? So if you're looking to make money, especially with your first hotel, look at something more like of an economy or more of a limited service and more of a drive-in, more of that attracts more of a leisure market.
All right. So thanks to Omari, Davon, and Damien for dropping that knowledge today. In this interview, we were talking today about the hotel industry and how it's being affected by COVID, but then also, you know, what opportunities are out there for people who want to start to invest and get their ducks in a row to actually be a part of a hotel ownership group as well. So before we get out of here, everyone, we started doing something new at the end of our interviews. So we've been doing 5 rapid fire questions. I've never done it with 3 people at the exact same time. So we'll just go around back and forth. I guess Davon will always be in the middle in that particular case. Or maybe I'll just rotate it another way. I'll think about it. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. But anyway, we'll start with Omari. So Omari, what is your favorite business book of all time?
The Autobiography of Malcolm X.
Okay, got you. So that's your favorite book. What's your favorite business book? Unless you consider that a business book.
I took it as a business book, and the reason is because it has a lot to do about knowledge of self. It has a lot to do about having multiple lives and all of those multiple lives leading to your success, and also learning how to pull from those multiple lives and your past and to create the best future possible. So for me, that's like the greatest business.
He must have already knew I was going to ask that question.
I did not.
Cool. What about you, Davon?
Prior to a couple months ago, probably would have been How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. But I just read a book. It's called Uncloned by Argia Richmond, and it's literally changed my life when it comes to marketing. I mean, she just does things just uncloned. She just, meaning just out of the box. And it's definitely changed my mindset, and it's helped me change my mindset as far as the lodging industry, because in order for the lodging industry to really get through this, like to really come back strong, we're going to have to think outside of the box. Whatever happened pre-COVID and say, this is what we did, we can't do it anymore. We have to be creative. We have to be We have to think outside of the box. We have to be unique, and we have to just do things that just, and see what happens and see how it works in order to really to bring our lodging industry back and get not only guests staying in our hotel, but bringing group business back to our hotel as well.
All right, Damien, you have a favorite business book?
So I have two, actually, that come to mind. So one is The Wealth Choice by Dennis Kimbrough. And so that's full of stories by Black entrepreneurs who have gone, many who have gone from nothing, right, strict poverty to abundance, right, and just how they did that, what their mentality was, their mindsets, and how they approach life, right? So that's my absolute all-time favorite. And the other is The 4-Hour Workweek. Right. So I love that book because, it teaches you how to be thoughtful about how you do more for less, how you generate money passively, and so that you don't have to work a lot. So I like both of those books.
All right. So Davon, my second question is, so shout out to Audrey Richmond. So shout out to her. I had a conversation with her maybe like 2 or 3 months ago, and she's an awesome person. And she's doing some awesome things with the book Uncloned. So check that out. It's a book by Audrey Richmond, a sister out of, I don't know where she lives at actually, but.
I think she's in Atlanta. I think she's based out of Atlanta.
Oh, she's in Atlanta. Oh, that's right. She is in Atlanta. So yep. So she's based in Atlanta. My next question is, are there any CEOs or businesses that you're currently emulating or trying to emulate as you're growing your, individual companies?
Actually, I'm looking at ROJ Trust. That's who I'm actually looking at two. ROJ Trust and Salamander Hotels. Both are Black owned. Actually used to be married, now to think about it. But RJ Trust is a REIT, a real estate and investment trust, a hotel REIT, and Salamander Hotels, founded by Sheila Johnson. She's actually one of the very few women hotel owners. And I love her so much, and I love her brand so much because she owns a luxury hotel brand, and she commands so much respect in the industry, especially for African Americans. Both her and ROJ Trust. ROJ Trust owns about over 100 hotels in their portfolio. So they're definitely commanding a lot of respect. Black folks, we own less than 2% of the hotels in the industry, but with these two individuals, they're just setting the tone, and we're just getting a lot of good press and a lot of good outlook, and just really just a lot of respect. So I'm following them, I'm emulating them. I'm definitely following their footsteps to grow a hotel portfolio of that size.
Yeah, the beauty of that one, Davon, is both of those principles together created Black Entertainment Television back in the day, right? So now they're separated and doing great things in the lodging and other spaces, right? So they're not just in lodging, they're all over the place. So yeah, good choices.
Are you, Damon?
Yeah, so Don Peebles, right? So DC native homeboy, right? Started from nothing and became very successful hotel developer and real estate developer, and so I admire him, particularly for how he was able to come up from modest means, develop the relationships, learn quickly, and really go after his passion and dream. The other is David Stewart. He's one of the few Black billionaires in America. Again, a rags to riches story where he started with nothing, then started building businesses. Next thing you know, he has a multi-billion-dollar IT services firm headed out of St. Louis. So those are my two.
Martin?
For me, I would probably say, and this, for me being a hip hop hotel broker, Diddy. Diddy has been, fascinating to watch through the different evolutions, but also somebody who always found a way to integrate other products, right? Somebody, and then also if you look at, I grew up in, the phase of if you were a dope artist, then you had to have a clothing line, right? That was kind of like the next thing. And, we saw Fat Farm and Rockaware and all these other brands, and they ultimately dissolved, but, Diddy held on to Sean John, which I always thought was fascinating. And then, you look at the things that he's doing now with the home products and that type of stuff. And now where buying black has come back around to being cool, he's already positioned there. He's already had the distribution. He's put his hand in the restaurants for a little bit. So that's something that I've always liked and always still stayed connected to the music. Somebody else that's also music related, posthumously acknowledging, Nipsey Hussle, somebody who was, spoke a completely different language into a very different audience, educated themselves, but, partnered with somebody else who was, I want to say, Ivy League educated, and they got to do things in the community to the audience that they were making the music for and talking about. And that's extremely unique. To see that happen, and it really talks about the growth and the success of partnerships and doing business in the community.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I'm going to skip two of my questions since we're running short on time. So I'm just going to go to really the most important question. So everyone here is in, I guess, their 30s, 40s, and 50s, or I don't know. The OG's Damien of the crew. I think you're in your 40s, right? Is that right?
I didn't hit no 50 yet, so don't
I know. I said 40. I said 40s. I said 40s. Yeah. So, all right, yeah. Cool. So, what advice would each of you? And we'll start with Damien. What advice would each of you go back and give to your 20-year-old self?
Oh boy, yeah, my 20-year-old self, I would have listened more, right, and attach myself to as many experts as mentors as possible.
All right. What about you, Amari?
Don't bet on green that time at the Bellagio. No. It would be learn more.
But at 20, you should be in the Bellagio anyway. At 20.
I was working there. I was working there at 19, though.
Okay.
I think for me it would be, I was fortunate because I did listen to a lot of great advice. So I think it would be more so, have faith that it's going to work out, have faith in your plan. And, one thing that my father always taught me, just, be careful about trying to have your visions validated by man. So I think that would be the biggest piece of advice that I would reiterate to myself.
All right, Davon?
Definitely listen. I got a lot of good tidbits growing up and in my 20s, and I didn't listen. And now it's like, it makes sense. Definitely, I would have told myself to focus more. I didn't mention this before in your previous question about who I admire, but Beyonce, she has this level of focusness. And I would tell myself in my 20s to have that level of focus. When you set a goal for yourself, or you set some type of, make it a plan, focus on it. Don't compromise yourself, especially being a woman. We tend to compromise ourselves a little bit more than men. And so I've learned to not to compromise, be true to myself, don't worry what anybody else, think, and just have that level of focusness and that determination and drive. And so that's what I would tell my 20-year-old self.
All right, everyone. So let's thank Omari, Davon, and Damien for being our guests today. As a reminder, they have a new 6-week masterclass coming out. We're going to start promotion on that probably either this Thursday or Friday. So be on the lookout for that. We'll have a nice weekend sale for you, for people who want to actually get on and learn from these three for the next 6 weeks as it relates to how do you go about getting into the hotel industry. So that class is going to start on this upcoming Thursday, so September 3rd, so about 9 days from now at 8 p.m. Eastern time. But more details will be coming very shortly for that as well. So before you get out of here, please make sure that you like, share, subscribe to the Black Financial Channel if you would like to receive more financial content like what we've been producing here today with these three. So on behalf of Omari, Davon, and Damien, my name is Lawrence Watkins. You all take care, be blessed, and have a wonderful day. All right, bye-bye.
Bye.